What's up, Rockstars? Today I'm going to be telling you about how Zombicide White Death is CMON's worst campaign yet. I'm going to explain exactly what I mean by that right now. But first, a word from the sponsor of today's video, Into the AM. I'm actually not wearing an Into the AM shirt. This is one of the few times that I don't, because as you know, I almost always do. That's because they're comfortable and they fit freaking fantastic. They are great quality. Good price. You can save 10% down in the description below. There's a link there. That 10% goes on top of any sales and offers that they already have. So for instance, here where it says save 25% on graphic tee packs, that's another 10% for you right there. Okay, so free shipping, $100+ spend. Again, you'll get a ton of shirts from that. You'll actually save some money and not even have to pay shipping. It'll be a really good deal, I promise. They're constantly coming out with new stuff. If we go over here to the new arrivals, you will see this freaking sweet skull like mountain thing going on here. I love the whole like kind of samurai thing when it's going on there. That looks freaking amazing. Looks like the back has, or that's the front, and then the back has that. If you're one of the fans of back graphics, that's for you. They have a ton of like island stuff and retro stuff and steampunk stuff and all sorts of stuff. They're also putting their stuff on different types of shirts lately and offering different types of shirts, whether it's shirts like this, or maybe some button-ups, or maybe some more warm weather-like stuff. Guys, they have it all. Get down in the description below. They're an awesome brand full of fantastic quality product at a really good price that you get to save 10% on top of that. So feel free to check them out. Again, in the description below, it's Into the AM. And now let's get to the video. Okay, so here's Zombicide White Death, and you might see 8,000 backers. You might see the fact that there's still 20 days to go. You might see the fact that it's already at $735,000. And you're thinking, king of average. Why do you hate CMON so much? Why are you calling this their worst campaign yet? Obviously, it's not. And I would argue that, first of all, I just hate a lot of the things that they do because they do a lot of things that I hate. I would also say that I still like a lot of their products. For instance, Zombicide's a fantastic game. And if you do not own a Zombicide, this is probably a great one to buy. I will also say that I don't judge the success of something based off just how much money it makes, or even necessarily how many people it reaches. For instance, I just did a comment on Townsfolk Tussle. They're wrapping up their campaign right now, actually. By the time of recording, there's probably a few hours left. Since I've mentioned them, I'll go to link down in the description below. This is not a plug for them. This is just an example that just happened today. And I noticed that they were about to reach $1 million USD in funding. And a lot of people were like, wow, that's like amazing. And that's great. That's cool and all. But what I really appreciated was the fact that more backers backed that one than did their previous one, which means that obviously once they delivered it, it had such good buzz and people enjoyed it enough to where now not only are people returning, but there's also a whole bunch of new people to where there's now more Townsfolk Tussle fans than there were before. And that kind of growth, I think, feels a lot more substantial and is a little bit more fulfilling than just an arbitrary volume of money. Because you can also have like really cheap card games that just won't ever raise like $1 million per se, even though they could have twice as many backers, right? So making twice as many people happy, but it's cheap, right? Obviously, this is going to be huge. Obviously, it's going to explode in price. Right now, it's at 110. It'll be about 350, 400 by the time you're done with it. They'll all keep adding add-ons and stuff like that. The typical CMON MO, and that's fine. That's why it's a 20-day campaign, so they can keep adding a lot over time. So it's going to make a lot of money, and that makes total sense. What I want to talk about is the campaign page itself. So we're going to take a look at the campaign page, and then we're going to kind of have a conversation. So as you scroll down, you're going to see the picture of a lot of what you get. I mean, not all. There's one tray, and there's not really a whole lot of cards, and they got some Yahtzee dice there because they can't afford to put fancy dice in your game. You have to pay extra for that. The typical, again, CMON stuff. Yeah, because I hate them so much. They have a little bit here, right? The long-awaited sequel to Zombicide Black Plague and Greenhorn has finally arrived. It's a medieval fantasy setting out in the cold to the icy lands and city known as Wintergrad. And then they have here's what's new. And it's a very high level thing here. We're going to be talking about this too. I actually do like that this is right up front. That's kind of cool, but it's missing some other stuff right up front, which we'll talk about too. Yeah, you do get some furries with human hands. We're going to be talking about that a little bit perhaps. But after that, then they have, okay, here's what you get. And they go through the pledge. Okay, there's what you get, plus the Lacuna Coil. By the way, love Lacuna Coil. I'm a big fan of theirs. I don't know if Heaven's a Lie is my favorite, but it's probably one of my most played song of theirs. So, not the radio edit, the 4-minute one. So anyway, then they post the rule book, and then some gameplay videos where they, sponsor Quack and they have like a business partnership or whatever that they can show stuff like that. And then Daily Unlock. Daily Unlock's kind of interesting. That means 20 daily unlocks. It'll be interesting to see what those are. I'll keep you guys up to date on the news. And then stretch goals. Now, when I first loaded this right away, they were like at 350, whatever. So I think they had just reached this person at the time, and then they hadn't updated anybody else. So as you can see, they're doing a ton of stuff. We'll talk about this in a little bit too, and then shipping information, and then that is it. That's all you get there. And of course, the contract when it comes to returns and whatnot, the legalese stuff there. So that's it. Now, the problem here is a problem I see progressing as they keep making these, and that's where I'm judging this. And it's the same issue I had with Hero Quest back in the day on Hasbro Pulse. So if you recall, one of the reasons I disliked that is because I felt there was a very big loss of potential to new people. If you have not played if you didn't know, Zombicide was my gateway game. It was the very first game I ever played besides like Magic the Gathering. So anyone with like minis or anything like that, like with a game board, beyond like Clue and Monopoly and stuff like that, where I realized there were other games even out there. I'd never been to a board game store. I bought my Magic cards from a comic shop, actually. So, like I literally did. And then there was a nerd, it was called Hastings. They had, collectibles and DVDs and video games and stuff like that. So I'd never even been into a board game shop. I never had been to a friendly local gaming store. I didn't even know the term, none of that. Some buddies of mine invite me to play, co-workers, I guess I should call them buddies. I worked with them. I haven't spoken to them since we stopped working together. So not buddies necessarily, but coworkers invited me to play a board game. I'm like, oh, whatever. Yeah, sure. Went over there. They had Zombicide Rue Morgue on the board there. And I was just blown away. I was like, oh my gosh. No, it wasn't that. It was a prison one. Anyway, blown away. I was like, this Abomination's awesome. I was super excited. I loved it. Fell in love with board games directly after that. And it definitely could have been like Catan or something like that. That would have not gotten me into the hobby. But Zombicide certainly did. It was a ton of fun. Love Zombicide. That being said, that's the case for a lot of people. It definitely has mass market appeal. It sells extremely well, and a lot of people like Zombicide. A lot of people hear about Zombicide and might want to back this as a first-time Zombicide player. Never played Zombicide before, or just a friends or something like that. And so, you need to accommodate teaching people what Zombicide is. Even though most of us know, I imagine 8,000 of that 8,039 know exactly how to play Zombicide. Exactly. This is not their first one even. Like or they know it enough. But there will be people, and normally they probably won't be backers, that have no idea. And this doesn't really teach you. So you have this right here that tells you what's new, but it doesn't tell you how Zombicide plays. It doesn't tell you, how it works. Is this like cooperative? Well, like what even is cooperative? Like what do you do? It doesn't really talk about leveling up or any stuff like that. It talks about melee at a distance, which is going to be confusing to new people anyway, even. And then like freezing. It's very high level stuff, right? No real mechanics, no real knowledge of how it plays or anything like that. It's just not there. Additionally, I even saw comments. People were asking, does this work with all the other stuff from Black Plague and Green Horde? It says here it's a sequel, but it doesn't say that it works with it. Is it standalone? Is it a sequel but that you still need components for the other one? That can still be questions that actually were literally answered. And by the way, no, they are not in the 6 FAQ questions. That's all about money and product, which is really what this is about. Besides this right here, everything else is just money and product. It's just here's how much things are, and here's what you're getting. They do have the rulebook listed here. You can go search and try and find how to play Zombicide. You could do that on here or off there, of course. And then they do have the single gameplay video, which isn't really a great way to learn how a game plays, and is a very big time investment from a user. So if you aren't attached to Zombicide, if you are new, this is not an inviting page. This is not for you. And what I feel you're doing is losing potential money. So whatever this makes, I feel already, because the day it launches, typically people put eyes on it and they don't come back if they're not interested. And they have already lost the potential of what this could have made had they put a bit more effort into it. Now, we're going to look at Green Horde here. Green Horde made a great $5 million. That's actually more than anything else they made Zombicide related until Marvel Zombies, because Marvel IP, obviously. But until then, this was their top one. Every other one had made less than that. You could argue it's the fantasy theme, potentially. But I also think they just did better campaigns back here. And if you recall, I used to cover Come On campaigns a lot, and a lot of it was pretty positive. You'll see here that they had a whole bunch of stuff right off the bat. It's a board game for 1 to 6 players, which is both a standalone game and fully compatible with Zombicide Black Plague and its expansions. Boom. Right off the bat, literally the very first sentence answers one of the big questions everybody's going to have. How can I play this? I already have the last one you did. Very, very useful, especially for Zombicide, where not all versions are equal, right? There are some odd ones. There are some different ones, like Marvel Zombies. Those aren't compatible, yet Green Horde and Black Plague are. And if you're new, you're not going to know that. You have to tell them or just find out through, experience. And then it talks about all this. I want you to focus. And then it goes right into, pictures. At just how much text they did, how much time they actually spent to write things down. Okay, I'm going to do a quick, very quick scroll through here. This is the current one. This is the type of campaign we get nowadays. This is it. Definitely a lot more visual, that's for sure. Like the pictures are bigger and all that stuff. The most text they have is the copy paste legalese on how you don't get your product if you don't pay and stuff like that, of course. Okay, and then not only that, but and this was fun. This was I didn't even remember this. So this is kind of a trip down memory lane for me. Maybe it is for you too. Do you remember when they had real miniatures? Like pictures of actual miniatures, not a render, like a legit mini, not fake. Like they actually sculpted this and even had an example, a physical thing they could take a picture of. This is all just digital. All of it is digital. None of this is real. None of this exists. This is all fake stuff, right? It's just crazy how that works compared to this, where they had so many already done. Not all of them, but quite a few. Just kind of cool to see. Look at that. It even has a different base there. like it's just, it's impressive to see. Notice how much smaller the pictures are too. That's kind of interesting as well. So I want to keep scrolling down here and just kind of talk about, just how impressive I think it is that they have all this stuff, right? As they explore, they're doing this and doing that. They're really telling you about the game. If you were new to Zombicide, if you had never played it, this was a fantastic first Zombicide. And I imagine, as their biggest Zombicide until Marvel Zombies, that this was indeed a lot of people's first Zombicide. And I think that's fantastic. At least the first one on Kickstarter. And they really supported that, right? I mean, they really, look at that. Look at that mini. It's fantastic. They really made it that possible, right? From how they did stuff. Look at all this text. They went deep dives into all these different things. Now, of course, they will add things, right? Of course. And then, of course, all these unlocks. And we'll probably talk, we'll reference back to this a little bit. Man, so many unlocks. And then the shipping, and then the legalese, which was a lot smaller back then too. Let's go ahead. I didn't actually open this up, but let's look at the Marvel one, just so you can see, okay, this was like their literal latest one at capacity, right? Because obviously this is going to expand. Obviously they're going to be adding 3-4 different expansions, plus some small ones, plus some dice and a whole bunch of other stuff. Again, $350, $400 all in is typically what you get here, unless it's Marvel Zombies, where they can charge more. But this is like at capacity. So again, here they have this, and look, they knew, oh my gosh, new people might want this. Maybe we should start trying to tell people a little bit about it, perhaps. Not the best, but at least it was kind of there. Notice it's all product and price. It's a store. Product price. Here's what's available. Here's how much it costs. Here's what's available. Here's how much it costs. This is all it is, right? Very little stuff. Now, they did have this. This is now what it's regulated to, is the Zombicide Basics, which, again, non-existent here. They do not tell you the Zombicide Basics here. You have no idea how to play Zombicide. If you're new here, go look at a rulebook or watch a very long gameplay video. That's all you got. And then again, more product, right? Not a lot. So they've really kind of stopped doing that. It's just less effort. They're just not putting as much effort into it. And, it could be that obviously the cost is less, and therefore, because they're obviously, not paying somebody to actually, write up stuff about the campaign and the game and stuff. They're also not having to progress far enough to get physical miniatures they can show off right away. Or if they do, then they're only pre-painted, right? You just get the painted version of it. So what you actually get, again, product price, and then shipping. That's it. So they've gotten to the point where now they're not even giving you the basics. You have no idea if this is compatible. You have no idea any of this stuff. You actually have to go to the comments and ask, or you bounce off and go buy a cool t-shirt where they actually, show you exactly what it looks like on a person even. It's really frustrating to see that, because I think Zombicide is a great game. And I can thank Zombicide for getting me to even be in this hobby, nonetheless this channel. This channel is in large part thanks to CMON. Without them, I wouldn't be here. So it's unfortunate to see that so many people are going to pass that option just because they didn't bother telling you anything really about this game. Really unfortunate. The other issue, and this is something I have found lately, really with their Massive Darkness 2. So if we go to like Massive Darkness here, oh man, where was it? Dear Lord. Dear Lord. How long ago was this Massive Darkness? Oh, jeez. They do so many. Here it is, finally. Okay. So, one thing that they did with Massive Darkness is they changed how Massive Darkness looks. Which, I can understand wanting to be creative. However, they're using the license of Massive Darkness while changing that. So now you have Massive Darkness 1 and Massive Darkness 2 that have a very different look and feel. Right? As opposed to, okay, let's create in that. And really, if I open this again, let's look for their last original game. What was their last original game? I guess Cyberpunk. Well, no, it's IP based, right? So not original game. That's another Zombicide. Those are all IP. That's a sequel. I technically kind of Ankh. Though it was kind of part of a trilogy, but we'll go on and say Ankh, because otherwise you're gonna have to go Trudvang's that Bloodborne, Munchkin, shoot. Project Elite was a remake. Hate was it based off an IP? Well, dang. Even Rise of Moloch actually they bought from the world of Smog. Anyway, okay, so it's been a while. Like Massive Darkness 1, maybe. Right? It's been a long time. So Massive Darkness 1, if you didn't know, was kind of like, let's take Zombicide and do something different with it. And then make it its own thing. It wasn't Zombicide, this is Adventures. It was Massive Darkness, and here's its look and feel, and here's its game, right? But they've stopped doing that. So now anytime they want to be creative, which I can understand being creative, they still attach to the IP, and it's very similar, reminiscent, ironically, of like the comic book industry, where it's like, oh, we want to do something different, so let's take the same character and then just swap who's doing it, right? Whether it's a different gender or a different race or a different look and feel. You can think of like the Thor sequels in the MCU versus the original ones, right? Let's try something different, but still have it be the same thing or whatever, which can work, can not, but either way, you're using an established IP, right? And they're doing this with Zombicide as well. And so I talked a bit about this before, where I feel like they're just creating art. They have artists that are just making a bunch of art, and not all of it gets used. Invariably, you're going to make more art than you can use. Either you don't unlock any stretch goals, or you end up passing on it, or don't feel strong enough about it, or it's not ready yet, or whatever, right? And so you don't have everything, but then they still want to use it. In Massive Darkness 2, they used that dragon, that like big dragon. I'll show it right to you, actually. It was a reuse. So this was not made for Massive Darkness 2. It was made for what was it, Kings of Fury or some junk, Kings of War or whatever, another IP. But again, they never released it. So they're like, well, we'll just have this laying here. Well, now we'll call it Massive Darkness 2, right? And that's why you now have a Chinese-themed dragon and this demon, angel attack thing. That's why you get that random stuff. It's why you see stuff that doesn't quite match. And you're starting to see that a little bit here, right? I feel anyway. Like, first of all, there's nothing distinguishing this person here from somebody Massive Darkness. They look the exact same. This could have easily been a Massive Darkness stretch goal that they just didn't get to. And so now, now it's Zombicide White Death, right? And you get that a lot. Like this barbarian guy wearing hardly anything in the cold. I wouldn't be surprised if he wasn't made with the cold in mind. It's just that now he's in this kind of Mongolian-esque kind of world here. They do a lot of original stuff that's directly for it, but again, they're going to create a lot of art for this, and whatever they don't use, they're just going to recycle in something else. That's definitely what I feel is happening here. The furries. Let's talk about that a little bit. So Zombicide didn't really have this before. They did slightly. Like I think there was a werewolf kind of guy at least, and there might be a few other examples you can dig up, but they're going heavy in on that. And a lot of it is literally just a swapped head. They have human hands and everything, and they just put up, boom, animal head. Okay, now it's Zombicide White Death. There's a lot of that kind of stuff going on, and don't even try. I challenge you, actually. How about that? To try and tell me that the reason we have Angel in the like Mongolian winter zombicide is not because this was made for Massive Darkness 2 where there was a ton of angels. Yeah. Go ahead and try and say those aren't related at all. I dare you, because I'm sorry, but there's almost no chance. But for the same reason that you're randomly playing as bugs in Massive Darkness 2 is the same reason that you now have angels and furries in Zombicide. It's just because that's what they're doing, right? So you have stuff that makes sense, and then you have stuff that's just like, it doesn't make any sense. Like, why is this even here? So it's really unfortunate to see regurgitation of just making art and then throwing it up there with a price tag next to it and then charging for it, and then just not even catering to all your backers because you'd rather do the lazy option and get less. But the problem is there's no line of sight to what your potential was, right? You can only guess what the potential was. But I know it was higher. 740,000, they could have been higher than that. If they had put a little bit more effort into their campaign, they could have been higher. And so between all the digital, between all the art, between the lack of information on how to even play their game, between all of this, it sucks. It's a crappy campaign. When it first launched and it only had like 3 stretch goals, it was one of the shortest campaign pages I have ever seen in my entire life. And half of it was legalese around shipping and whether or not they'll refund you or not. I was flabbergasted. They don't even have that little info basics, how to play Zombicide. Why don't you tell us that? Nah, can't be bothered. Just throw out some images, some art we used for another game, and people will buy it. It's a great product, I'm sure. I'm sure it plays great. And I'm sure if you dig into it and read the rulebook to the game you don't even own and doesn't exist yet and might change between now and delivery, and if you watch the gameplay video of the prototype, then maybe you'll do that. Actually, let's go and take a look. I haven't even played it. Is this a prototype or everything you need to know? Okay, well, it's under gameplay videos. Here's the gameplay. Okay, we're going to mute you here. Oh, no. Okay, so they do have a prototype. That's a real product. So super cool to actually see that. That's kind of nice, actually. That's about as real as you're going to get, though. Just unfortunate. I wish they'd try harder. I really do. CMON is capable of such great stuff. I really like a lot of their games. Hate, fantastic game. I love Hate. Should rephrase that. The game. Zombicide, love it. Play it all the time. Death May Die, love it. Great game. Blood Rage, love it. Great game. They make a lot of great games. They don't make great campaign pages anymore, though, guys. They really don't. I miss the real pictures of minis. They weren't even painted. I miss the information on their game that they're trying to sell you. I miss the effort. I don't know. Let me know what you guys think. I'm sad about it. Obviously, I'll be covering this in my news videos, which one will be coming up right after this, so stay tuned for that. If you're not subscribed, go ahead and do that. I'm going to be covering a ton of stuff. It's going to be one of my biggest news videos in a while. I have a little Trello board, and in my card for the next video, there is a scroll bar in the description. There's a lot. So we're going to be going over a lot of stuff. A lot of stuff is closing or coming up or available or updates or companies being bought out, all sorts of craziness. Stay tuned for that. And until then, have a great rest of your day. Take care, guys. Bye.